If you are a fan of softball, you are going to love the Fastpitch TV show. From softballjunk.com, we're bringing you more softball than anyone on the planet. Sit back and get ready. Here's the Fastpitch TV show.
Hello, I'm Gary Leland, and this is the Fastpitch TV show. Make sure and take a look at all my videos, blogs, and softball information on my website at www.fastpitch.tv. Now, the Fastpitch TV website brings you more free softball information than any place else on the planet. And today, I bring you episode 12 in the history of softball. Can't believe we're at 12. I'm working with Fastpitch softball legend Dr. Richardson and Alison Strange of PFX Athletics to film a series of interviews between Richardson and other softball legends. You are really going to be amazed at some of the softball greats that are joining us on this series of shows. Now, in this episode, Richardson interviews coaching great Kirk Walker. Now, this is another great interview in this series. Now, let's go to the show right after this short message.
Oops, sorry. I was reading this month's issue of the Fastpitch magazine. What? You're not familiar with the Fastpitch magazine? Watch this. You are going to love it. Looks great, right? Want to find more about the #1 coaching tool on the internet? Go to fastpitchmagazine.com today.
Hi, it's Dr. Richardson again, and I'm excited to have here the one and the only, I know you've heard that a lot, but this is so true, Kirk Walker. Kirk, thank you so much for being here, and I think what makes it so exciting is that you know the history, you appreciate the history in our sport, and now's a chance for you just to bring us back down memory lane and where you see the sport going.
That's fantastic. Well, thank you for having me. I'm truly been blessed to be a part of this sport for a long time and seen some amazing athletes and amazing quality of play. So it's a great sport and been a major part of my life for a long time.
Now tell us all that you've done. I know from UCLA, I can go on and on, but take us back to when you were a young boy, and I know Karen, your sister, and just give us a story. So that's a part of history too.
Okay, sounds good. Well, I started being involved in softball because of my sister. So, when she got recruited to play on a competitive team when I was 15 and she was 13, that was really kind of the start of me really having great passion for the sport. So at 15, I was able to be around the sport, be around some great athletes at the ASA level, and watch the game really grow in Southern California at that point, which was blossoming because it was not what it is today. And
wait, tell me what it was like back then. You said it's not where it is today.
Well, so. There was 4 teams in the entire state of California. So the state tournament was 4 teams, and then there was the next year there was like 8 teams, and it slowly started to explode. So we played the same teams every weekend, and we just drove all the way up to Santa Maria or drove down to Santa Barbara, and it was really just great quality time. But there was just not a lot of people playing.
And what age group was
it? This was 15 and under. Yeah. So it was 13, 14, 15-year-olds. There was 18 under level ball as well, and there was a few more teams at that age. But 12 and under almost didn't even exist, the youth level, really younger kids. So it was...
To interrupt, you heard it right. It was 13, 15, and 17. And then all of a sudden the transition was 10, 12, 14, 16, 18.
It really exploded. Each of those divisions really got bigger and bigger and bigger, and they started to split the state and split different regions, and then they started to split up age groups. So it's been an amazing transition just to watch the ASA youth level and the, all of the different youth ball that's going on at different parts of the country, the PGF and PFX Tour, and all the different just amazing leagues that have popped up in the youth market.
Now, Karen went to UCLA. So talked about college, what was it like? Scholarships were being offered, and the 1973, maybe the first one for women. And I know 1976 was the first at UCLA, I think, with Ann Myers and Sue Inquist. But tell me, living in California, softball in California, and then college?
Well, it's amazing because I was coaching a very high competitive level of competitive 18 under ball at the time when I was a senior in college, and I decided I wanted to go to UCLA, and I applied to UCLA, but I was pretty clueless about UCLA softball. And here I was, I grew up all of 5 miles from it. They were national champions in '82 with you, obviously, and that's right about when I was coaching. We won our national championship in '82, and I had no idea. I didn't know who you were. You weren't on TV. You guys weren't around. The only person I knew was Sheila Cornell. And Sheila I knew because she was an umpire in my sister's rec league when she had been 8, 9, and 10.
Legend Sheila Cornell Dowdy.
So, when I went into UCLA, I knew Sheila. She was a senior, and I was going in as a freshman, and you had just finished. I think you were in your 5th year. And I went in not really completely knowledgeable about the college game. It wasn't on TV. It wasn't on the news. It wasn't really covered. And it's very sad because the level of play was really incredible.
Incredible.
So to get into the college game back in 1983 as a freshman, and then '84 was my first season. Here I go in as a freshman, and we win the national title in '84, and then we win back-to-back in 1985, and the sport really started to, once again, grow and expand, and it wasn't just the California teams that dominated, Texas A&M and Nebraska.
Lori Stahl, legend.
Absolutely. Florida State, with Joanne Graff, and South Carolina. There was
Wendy Ward. I mean, say some names.
Gosh, yeah.
Name drop.
Sean and Daya, and just the amazing athletes.
Dee Dee Wyman. I mean, was she then or that was later?
Dee Dee Wyman came later. Actually,
yeah,
Dee was a lot
right,
younger. So in that period of time, it was amazing. You had athletes, the amazing like Stacey Winsberg and Mary Ricks and Janet Pinot and at UCLA and Leslie Rover and these amazing athletes that were really just playing for this pure love of the sport. Mm-hmm. And many of them had the opportunity to go on and play for the national team. And you saw these athletes like Sue Lewis out of Cal State Fullerton.
Legend.
And Susan Lefevre.
Yeah, Julie. I'm trying to think of her last name. Fullerton was stacked with talent.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can remember, but I mean, this kid, she could hit.
King and Leslie King and Robin Gooden and Joanne Ferrari.
History man right here.
There's just so many amazing names there at Cal State Fullerton. And then you go over to Cal Poly Pomona and you had, Barb Rinalda and you had Rhonda Wheatley and just...
And coaches?
Coaches. I mean, Carol Spanks, one of the all-time greats, and Shirley Topley.
Legend. And Shirley Topley, I'm sorry about that. Shirley pulled the mic, but legend.
Right, and obviously Judy Garman and Kathy Van Wyck had just finished playing and was coaching there and in Fullerton in that period of time. And
legend.
Joanne Graff and Joyce Compton at South Carolina and Bob Brock at Texas A&M.
Oh my gosh, I remember. Yeah. That's awesome.
So just some amazing athletes, amazing coaches, people that I had so much respect for and learned so much from. Sharon Drysdale out of Northwestern was just an icon in our sport, and Kathy Veroni and what she had done, and Sandy Fisher.
Legend. Oh, Sandy, absolutely. Now,
got it.
At UCLA, dominated. In the collegiate game, NCAA, domination. Now, I would love to hear from you what you think made the domination of UCLA in that era and beyond, obviously 12 national championships. But in your time, what was the ingredients that made that program so successful?
Well, it was definitely about the athletes, and the coaching. Sharon Bacchus was just a master of the game from the performance side. She wasn't necessarily the training expert. She wasn't necessarily about training overly hard or breaking down the sport or trying to teach all of these new techniques. She was really about taking great athletes that could perform and really putting them in a situation that allowed them to excel and allowed them to just compete with a confidence and a swagger and a trust in their own ability. So, Sharon and Sue, amazing legends of the sport back then. And with Sue's passion for the game and Sharon's understanding of the game at the highest level, you really could ask for nothing more. And for me to get into that situation and be able to be there and fill the gaps and fill the roles, pitching, batting practice, doing whatever I needed to do, learning the game, being involved, it was just absolutely, truly an incredible opportunity. UCLA's dominance was about great pitching, Debbie Doom and Tracy Compton, and then after that, Samantha Ford and Lisa Longacre, and obviously Lisa Fernandez going to that generation. But back then, Tracy and Debbie were two of the most dominant competitors that our game had. And for them to be back-to-back at UCLA was pretty incredible. So
Now, I want to say their records are like 10-0 each or 12-0. We didn't play a lot of games back then, did we?
yeah, ERAs were really small, and so were the win-loss records. Yeah, we didn't play a lot of games. We practiced, in the fall. Back then, there's restrictions on the number of hours per week and number of days per the year. We practiced Tuesdays was offense, Thursdays was defense, and that was what we did in the fall. And then we got into the season and we practiced, probably every day, but our practices were maybe an hour and a half. We got in, we got out. Athletes stayed fresh, athletes stayed healthy, and it was really about competing. It was about the mental side of competing, and it was an incredible time to think back at those athletes and those teams. And
Now, as one of the athletes that played under Sharon and Sue, I can say we did not do anything remotely to the intensity, I think you would say, or the repetitiveness of teaching the mechanics. I mean, it was 10 ground balls, hit 10 swings. I mean, when you look at it, the sport has changed so much then, but we were very successful. And I look at Sharon Bacchus and Ralph Raymond as coaches. They brought together talent and they made them play together successfully. And that's not always easy.
Absolutely. I think that's what I would say one of the keys to the success for UCLA at that time was talent, for sure. But just having talent is not always enough. You have to figure out how that talent is going to work together. And just as John Wooden learned how to do that and create his principles of success and pyramid of success, Sharon Bacchus did the same as well with softball. And it was her own style of, this is what you need to do. It's very simple. Get out, you compete, keep it simple, get it done. We don't need the flash, we don't need the explosion, just get it done 9 out of 9 times. And the greatest thing I think about that period of time was it was intense, but it wasn't very long. So it wasn't an intensity where you trained to the point of exhaustion or you trained to the point of just injury or fatigue. It was get in, get it done right. Once you get it done right, you're done. I don't need to do it 50 times right. Do it 9 times right, and then we're done. Do it 9 times right again tomorrow, and then we're done.
And I think a lot was focus, visualization that was innate. If you can feel it, you realize you can do it, you can live it. And you're taking me back to memory lane. But one of the things with you that you are always known for, Kirk, is hardworking and passion. I remember watching you dragging that field on that, I think it was a three-wheeler, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Three-wheeler going around and around, but you were always hitting ground balls to people, catching for pitchers, working. And that's what people have to realize. Success doesn't just come easily. It's a lot of work, and I think showing your commitment to that team made them believe even more and wanted to work more as well. So you have to give yourself a lot of credit, I think, as well.
Well, thank you. I certainly appreciate that, and I know that I was so fortunate and just loved it and loved being around it that there wasn't enough that I couldn't do. If I needed something else to get done, if someone needed something in the department, I was there to be able to just contribute.
And that has not changed.
Well, it's great. It's a great opportunity when you're around great people and you surround yourself with people that you want to be around, and you choose to give everything you have. You choose to be that person. And like I said, I was very motivated, very passionate, and to be able to be around the likes of you and Sue Skursky and Gina Vecchione, just an incredible source of just unbelievable people.
Now we're talking about college, but one thing that rings more true to me for you is how you helped to bring the women's major level into the expansion of it during the national explosion of Pan American World Championships and national, World Cups, World Championships, as I mentioned, but Pan American. So what I'm getting at is, how did you now make the transition from college? Because you could have said, oh, that's it, but you went on in summer, and that is when I remember that you played for college for an education.
Right.
Competing was fun, but summer was it. Baby.
Yeah.
It was it.
Yeah, women's major ball back then was an intense, competitive, just just an unbelievable experience, weekend after weekend. And the first weekend on the West Coast, anyways, the first weekend of the season was always that Bakersfield tournament in June, and you went out there and just had teams from all over the country, and it was intense and hard fought. And the athletes that were out there were world-class athletes on these teams. I think of Kathy Van Wyk, and I think of Tracy Compton, and the teams that were out there, the Blazers, and the all those teams that were just so powerful, the Majestics, and Cindy Bristow, Sue Bristow, Tippy Borrego. I mean, there's just some of the names on the West Coast.
These are legends. I mean, I'm saying that a lot, but it's so true. I mean, as we're trying to get all of those who are watching, understanding the history of this game, we're not just throwing out these words of intense, competitive, inspiring, focused, determined female athletes. I mean, it was real, and it's something that we need to learn from as we continue to grow in this sport, which has grown tremendously. We can talk about that. But these are truly legends. But you started coaching a team.
Yeah, I did. So it was, I guess it was like about 1990 that I started coaching a team, the California Commotion. And, we started out, and you were obviously with the Breakettes, and my sister was playing with the Breakettes at the time, and there was a lot of great talent. But on the West Coast, there was a lack of a team at that point in time of the Breakette caliber. All the teams on the West Coast were good, but they all kind of had some administrative issues or lack of commitment from different programs. And, my background with UCLA and being part of Success and my understanding and belief of following and being a part of the Breakette organization, I believed that could happen on the West Coast as well. And so starting the California Commotion was kind of a great collaborative effect with Debbie Ching and myself and Barb Booth and some amazing talent on the West Coast that said, hey, we're playing on these teams, but Kirk, if you had a team, we would play for you. And so we did it. We didn't have a sponsor. We didn't have uniforms. We didn't have anything. And they were all bought into saying, but we want to play for you. And Janice Parks and Chris Paris.
Future Olympian for Puerto Rico.
Absolutely. So, and Chris Paris, an Olympian for Canada. So it was a great opportunity to be able to get that athlete that was on the West Coast and say, we want to stay and play here and play with you. And so my sister actually came back from the Breakettes and left the Breakettes and played with me. So that California Commotion team was pretty good, pretty talented, and we had a great time. I guess it was it was 92 actually. Laura Harrigan came out as well. And what happened at that point was we had some decent success at the women's major level, but Ralph Raymond was going to be kind of retiring and focusing on the Olympic Games, and I think it might have been about 94, 95.
I want to say it was probably 93, 94.
Yeah, right.
Because I was with my residency, so I'd say 94.
Right. So you were going to be on the West Coast. You were doing your residency. Ralph was kind of retiring a little bit from the Breakettes. His big focus to be doing the national team, the Olympic team, and so we made a big move. And you and Sheila and Lisa Fernandez and Jill Justin and Lori Harrigan. Jenny Condon, all these athletes that had been playing on the Breakettes, moved over and came back and either started playing for us at the California Commotion. And I think one of the first moves you made was we can no longer be green, right? You said no one's won the national title being green, and which was the color we were. And I said okay. I found a sponsor for uniforms, and we had some amazing uniforms with the California Commotion through Speedline and
blue, black, and white. That was pretty cool.
It was pretty cool.
We look good.
And we look good. Not only did we look good, we made a pretty big impact right away.
I think you won 5 out of 6.
We won 4 in a row, I know for sure, and right there through that period of time. And it was a great time. Great competition, great athletes, great just joy. Going to the Canada Cup, traveling across the country for the Nationals. The Canada Cup was an amazing explosion in history. What Glenn Todd did up there with that internationally was really powerful, and it took the international teams, Japan and China, Australia, New Zealand, Chinese Taipei, and brought them in over here to the Americas, obviously North America, and we took our great teams up there, and it wasn't ever the USA team competing against them, it was all of our teams, and we were fortunate to win the Canada Cup and win against Japan and China and Australia at times, and to know that we were doing that as a club team, which yes, we had half the Olympic team on our team, but it just proved that what women's major was about in the United States was bigger than anything going on in the country. Because we could send half of our athletes and our B team to go out and beat those teams. So that boy, oh boy, when we put everybody on one team, we took the Reading Rebels athletes that were on the national team, the Julie Smiths and the Michelle Smith and Lori Sipple, obviously with Canada, and we took those athletes, meshed them in with the Commotion athletes and a few other athletes on a few other different programs across the country and put them on that Olympic team in '96. Incredible.
Sweetness, really.
Absolutely.
Now, I'm going to back up really fast. What made the Ray Bestos Breakettes so dominating, world-renowned? What would you say was the ingredients that separated them for a long time, I mean decades, compared to other teams?
I would say standards. There was a standard of execution as an athlete. There was a standard of how you would be as an elite athlete to step on the field that was just so reinforced by the talent and the competitiveness. Every athlete was so focused on winning for the team and doing whatever the team needed. There was a lot of athletes on that team that didn't get along or weren't necessarily best friends. Diane Schumacher was an incredible athlete and a great team player, but boy, she was getting in people's business and she was, causing all kinds of practical jokes and annoying people at times, but nobody wanted.
Yeah, I think curfew at 12. She was in at 12, the hotel, and then she left at 12:01.
Right. I think an athlete like that, but boy, you wanted her on your team when you stepped on the field, and you never questioned that. So I think the commitment to those athletes to respect each other and respect what you guys brought on the field really resonated. It didn't matter if you had different commitments off the field. Everyone trusted that when you came, you put on that uniform and you stepped on the field and you represented that flying R, it mattered. It mattered, and everyone was going to give everything they had at that moment in time. Doreen Denman, I mean, what an amazing teammate to have.
Barbara Rinalda.
Once again, Kathy Aronson, yourself, and, it's just, Alison Rio, talk about Allie, just what an amazing athlete. So my sister got that opportunity to step in as a really young athlete, freshman in college, sophomore in college, and to go in and play with you guys. And obviously for me to be around it and be able to help and throw batting practice when I could was really, truly incredible. Ralph Raymond, what he did for those athletes and what he created in terms of the competitive side, very simple, just get it done. I don't need to hear why, I don't care exactly how, just do it. It's hard, love it, do it, get it done.
Well, Ralph, I believe, was honored as probably one of the most winningest coaches of any sport. And he reminds me of a softball John Wooden and so many other coaches. And I believe Sharon Bacchus is one, really modeled themselves after that technique. But I tell you, it came down to recruiting.
Oh, sure.
I'm telling you, they wanted to play for him. They wanted to play for that organization. Yeah. So that's what I look at, whether it's UCLA, whatever university or program it is. When people want to play for you because of your standards, because of the professionalism, that's the epitome. That's what you want. And that's what playing for your country is about, what you represent. And I think when young people can get that, when they learn from the history, is impactful because it's going to help them reach their full potential. Sure. Because all the distractions, you're just learning to focus and you take pride in what you're doing. And it doesn't matter the score because when I thought of playing, I never thought about the score really. When our team was 119-0 for the United States and we finally lost that first game, I was kind of like, what, the game's over?
Right. Right.
And I thought I learned from that. It was like, we never really played to win. We played to be the best that we could be.
In that moment.
Right.
Absolutely. And I think that's the astounding thing that you look back at the USA softball system and program back then and the Breakettes and UCLA softball and several other programs is that it wasn't necessarily always about the score. It was about how you play. And Sharon, as you know, it wasn't about the score. Like Sharon didn't care about the score. We could win a game really bad, ugly. Like we could win a huge score, but if Sharon didn't believe that we stepped on that field and played to our ability or that you guys stepped on that field and were really locked in, she would let you know. It wasn't necessarily about the score. And conversely, there could be a game that we only won 1-0, and maybe it should have been more, but boy, it was a hard-fought game and everything was left on the field, and she would have been just as happy with that. But once again, I think you think of those great coaches, they don't like to lose.
Oh, no.
They don't like to lose.
Now, we've talked about that evolution of, like, say, travel ball from 13, 15, 17 to then 10, 12, 14, 16, 18 unders. College a little bit, we talked about that. Women's major, we talked about it. But you were instrumental, too, in the Junior Olympic program, the USA team development, camps and clinics, the teaching side. So share some history about that. Camps, clinics, the amount of focus now in teaching, and how that started getting to that Junior Olympic and national level to Olympic level.
Wow, you when you say that now, you bring me back and start thinking about all those things back then. And I was truly very fortunate to be involved. Cindy Bristow at the time was with ASA, and she was in charge of the JO program, and she created this college or this coaches education system, and she pulled me in, and Mona Stevens, and really we were just talking.
Mona Stevens.
Yeah,
wow,
we were just
yeah.
talking about this. Those times when we went around the country, and the three of us literally we packed up our bags and we flew. We were in Alaska, we were in Nebraska, we were in Massachusetts,
everywhere.
we were everywhere, and we were just living out of our suitcases. We put on our sweats and we'd be in these gyms with 30, 40, 50 coaches, and we would be sliding on the floor and teaching them sliding and teaching them throwing and hands-on doing all of this and talking about the principles of coaching and the breaking down the game and throwing mechanics. And I mean, it was just long days of just nonstop, and all I can remember is how much fun it was. But boy, did we sleep, because it was exhausting, the 2 to 3 days of that. So to be a part of that development and to see the teaching of the game and growing coaches was really powerful. And the JO program, to really see the Junior Olympic program and working with the junior national team and working with, obviously the collegiate system feeding into the Olympic team. The Olympic Festival was another really interesting thing. The Olympic Festival back then was the teams that, the top 4 finishers from the women's major then attended the U.S. Olympic Festival that was run by the USOC, and it was all the sports. And it was an Olympic-style event that was run in the U.S. every year. And in the beginning, it was the North, the South, the East, and the West teams that came in and were the top 4 teams from the women's majors. And then it wasn't long after that, about 1992, that it switched and it became really the developmental system for the selection team, for the national team. No longer was the national team just the team that won women's majors. It was now a composite group of people that tried out, that committed over a week period of time, and a selection group went and said, we're going to take you, we're going to take you, we're going to take you. And it was really an amazing time to watch that eventually turn into the national team selection system that happened before that first 96 Olympics.
Where were you when they announced the 1996 Olympics was for real going to host our sport of softball?
I was actually on the road. I can't remember if I was in maybe here in Atlanta or I was somewhere in the South, but I was doing a clinic, and I can remember thinking that, oh my God, we've arrived, because the Pan Am Games, amazing competition. The Canada Cup, amazing international competition, but it was never the Olympics. Like, the Olympic rings just had this power. And to know that all of a sudden at that point in time, we were, as a sport, respected and legitimized to be in the Olympic Games was just truly an incredible opportunity. For me, it was always very powerful too, because I knew the athletes like yourself and Lisa and
Sheila, and
right, Michelle Granger, right, Gillian
legend,
Box, and Shelley Stokes, and all of those athletes were going to have that opportunity. And right, and not only to have that opportunity to compete for the USA, which you guys had all been doing that, but compete on an Olympic venue in Atlanta, and then also to sit back and know, oh my God, they should be the gold medalist, because they are the most dominant team in the history of sport right there in softball. And so to know that gold medal was not only a potential, but a very strong likelihood, was just incredible. And I'll never forget it. I mean, I was there. I wasn't a part of the staff, but, I was there, and I was whatever you guys needed when you guys were in the village and there, and to be able to sit in that stands and watch every moment of that in person was truly something I will never forget.
Share with us some of the highlights you can think of just off the top of your head, if there's any.
Well, purely the highlights. Your huge home run in the China game, and Sheila Dowdy was Cornell was so clutch. The number of just clutch hits that she came in the RBIs. I can remember some pickoff plays in some of those big games, and obviously the incredible pitching performances from Lori Harrigan's perfect game, and Lisa's just continued staying with things. Obviously, the moment that was really the most impactful, as it was for you guys, was that loss with when Danny Tyler didn't step on home plate. We would go to extra innings, and UCLA Bruin playing on the Australian national team, who's a good friend of mine and an athlete I coached, came to the plate and delivered that hit off a decent pitch that Lisa threw, and to just see what Lisa went through at that period of time was just heartbreaking to me. And I have never really appreciated you guys as athletes more than to see how you responded there and rallied behind not only USA softball and yourselves, but rallied behind Lisa in that mode. Because it wasn't about Lisa, but what she was experiencing, what she was putting the pressure on herself, truly was powerful to see. And you guys did what you did and said, lace them up, put them on, bring it on, let's go. Doesn't matter who, doesn't matter how long it's going to take, doesn't matter how many innings, let's get it done, here we go. And to watch from that game moving forward was, wow, magical, very special.
Now, any advice that you would like to share when we talk about history, where you see us going, because today will be history tomorrow. So anything that you would like to say that we just have it in the history books?
Well, I think the most important thing for us to continue to look at is our passion for the sport should never put us in a position of dividing our resources, dividing our efforts. And so we have so many great resources, with the college game being what it is today, and the amount of resources being put into it. And the PFX Tour and the NPF and the USSSA and PGF and ASA and USA Softball, and there's so many people doing so many great things. And the one thing, I'm a connector by nature, and I believe in the good of what we're doing. And if we can continue to keep putting the sport first, I believe us getting back into the next opportunity with the Olympics is going to be powerful. And I hope that we do something better than we did the last time at taking care of that, and really making sure that we're ensuring that this sport is always going to be in that opportunity and in that vehicle and in that place to be able to be a showcase for our sport.
Well, in interviewing Kirk, you can see what he's really done for the sport. You have no idea, but maybe you do, with your time and effort, tireless camps and clinics, the way they are done today is a reflection of your commitment to it and the impact on coaches today, the education that you see, pitching lessons, hitting lessons. You just had a packed house when you're talking about pitching, and you've studied it. You've trained some of the greatest in the game. Kirk Walker is without a doubt a sincere legend in the evolution of our sport and impacting so many of us, and also a national championship coach over and over again. Thank you, Kirk. You are so amazing. Love you. Mwah.
Welcome back. I hope you enjoyed today's show. Now make sure to come back and watch part 13 of Softball History. Please tell your friends about the Fastpitch TV show and this series of softball history shows. Make sure and take a look at my website, www.fastpitch.tv, to keep up with all the episodes of this show, as they come out. Now, until next time, this is your host, Gary Leland, saying goodbye, and thanks for watching.
Do you need a softball bat? Do you want to save $30? SoftballJunk.com is offering an additional $30 discount off the price of all non-sale softball bats on their website. That's right, $30. So the next time you buy a bat, go to softballjunk.com and enter the code FPTV30 during checkout, and wham! You just put a cool $30 in your pocket. This show is a member of the Fastpitch TV network. See all of our shows and blogs at www.fastpitch.tv.